They're interdicting ships on the high seas, in the Philippines and elsewhere, and threatening, the world order that was set up after World War II. They want a different kind of world where they're the middle kingdom, they're the kingdom at the center of the earth, and all the other countries of the world bring tribute and bow and kowtow to the Chinese Communist Party. Remember, we're talking about the Chinese Communist Party, not the Chinese people. The Chinese Communist Party is the biggest killing machine in human history, and it has killed off tens of millions of Chinese people. So the Chinese Communist Party is everywhere, and it is using the same tactics against the United States that it used to defeat domestic enemy in China during the Civil War. They did the same thing. The nationalists adopted an American Constitution. They had freedom of speech, a rather open society. What did the communists do? They came in, they set up newspapers, they sent Zhou Enlai, they sent agents into the nationalist areas to organize cells and spy on Chiang Kai-shek and the nationalists. And they destroyed the nationalists from within, and then they just rolled over them militarily. They're doing the same thing now. It's the same playbook, Carl.
Oh, and you know what concerns me, Stephen? Is this some of this DEI, CRT, all this kind of stuff? I feel like Americans have we've made ourselves vulnerable to the CCP by adopting some of these values that the progressives within the Democrat Party, which is totally anti-progressive, but they're progressives within it, basically communists within the Democrat Party. Even Kamala Harris. I know some people will be offended about that, but this chick's positions are communist. I mean, she is so far to the left, it's insane. I think she's an authoritarian. What role do you think DEI, CRT, all of this kind of stuff, is this a tactic that China would use in order to infiltrate the United States and maybe influence some people in our institutions of government, academia, Hollywood, so on, et cetera?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she was Linda Sun, before she became the deputy chief of staff to Hochul, was in charge of the diversity programs. So that's how these people, in part, wormed their way into the government and get promoted with the support of the local Communist Party, Chinese Communist Party run organization. But you want to talk about people who have Marxist views. We can talk about Tim Walz for a minute. Tim Walz and I have something in common. We both went to China. We both speak Chinese. The difference is that I went to China and I talked to ordinary people, and they told me the government was tyrannical. The government was the big landlord that took most of their production and gave them back only enough to survive. And Tim Walz went to China, and he didn't talk to ordinary people. He talked to Chinese communist officials who loaded him down with presents and told him that communism is wonderful because everyone gets free food and free housing. Well, no, they don't. The people in China do not get free food and free housing. They did, for a short time in 1958, get free food in the communes, and then the commune system ran out of food, and they were sent home to starve. 45 million of them starved to death. So much for free food, right? And free housing in the countryside. People have to build their own homes, and if they're not careful, a local communist official comes and bulldozes them, takes their land, builds a high-rise apartment building, and says, now you can rent from me. You don't own your own home anymore, but you have no place to live. You'll have to pay me rent to live in my new apartment building, which, by the way, was built on your land. So much for free housing. So Tim Walz came away from China with a very, very different view of China than the reality of China. And even today, Tim Walz will say that China is not our adversary. Tim, did you forget that in 2019, China declared a people's war on the United States? Chinese generals have said we will have to fight a war against the United States for dominance in the Pacific sooner or later. They're on record as saying that, and Tim Walz is somewhere off in La La Land saying that China and Chinese Communist Party is not an adversary.
Yeah, I gotta listen. I'm so concerned about a Harris Walz ticket, and I pray to God that they don't get elected. I'm praying that more Americans will wake up. I'm praying that Trump's debate with Harris next week will open the eyes of many, and I hope that he'll perform well, because these people are absolutely terrifying. The fact that Kamala Harris's first economic proposal was to attack grocery stores with price gouging. I'm like, that's insane. I mean, if you do that kind of stuff, all it's going to do is cause starvation. She wants to build 3 million houses. Kind of sounds like, China. China to me. These people seem to be getting their ideas from China when it comes to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. It is terrifying to contemplate. And my concern is that a lot of people on the left are just emotional. They exist in bubbles. They have the help of the mainstream media and also big tech, social media that are just feeding them one side of the news, and then they're not hearing the real story. And before we know it, we're going to lose America because half of Americans are willing to vote for communist ideas.
Yeah, and they want to lead us once more down the socialist road to ruin, as if we don't have history. Pol Pot in Cambodia, Mao in China, Stalin in the Soviet Union. Every time you go down this path, Venezuela, Cuba, the end result is always the same. And the cure supposedly is worse, than the disease. Sure, we have some economic problems, but the solution to that is to unleash the potential of the American people, allow them to start businesses, raise families, contribute to the economy in a positive way, not government control. I saw that up close and personal in China, where the Chinese villagers in the commune I was living in had their land taken away from them. And guess what? Their standard of living did not go up. It went down. They didn't have more food. They starved to death. And they lost control of their own destiny. It's sad. They gave up their freedom for a promise, for a fiction that the government would take care of them, and the government abandoned them. And now in China, we see the same thing. Xi Jinping leading China once more down the socialist road to ruin. He's attacking the people who raised China out of poverty over the last 20 years. He's expropriating their wealth. He's doing the same thing that communist dictators do sooner or later. And this tax on unrealized capital gains, people may not understand what that is. That's taking money from you that you don't have. Anyway.
I was just thinking about that yesterday, honestly. I was like, people were cheering for this stuff. They have no idea what they're cheering for. I think Americans have been so blessed. We just don't understand. It's almost like we need some type of struggle. People, instead of just being thankful for where they are, we need some type of struggle. 20 seconds to respond.
Yeah, well, we have a struggle, and we have 2 months to figure out what side of that struggle we're going to wind up on. We're going to wind up either on top or on the bottom. And the bottom means going down the socialist road, going down the China road. China claims it has a superior economic and political system. It doesn't, but a lot of young Americans simply don't know the truth.
Yeah.
And we need to reach them. We need to educate them, which is what you're doing every day, Carl.
We'll leave it right there for this segment. We'll be back with one more segment with Stephen Mosher. Stay tuned. Hey, Carl Jackson here. You've asked and MyPillow has listened. They're finally bringing you the most requested offer ever. Right now, you can get the queen size premium MyPillow for just $19.98. MyPillow is made with a patented adjustable feel. It adjusts to your exact individual needs, regardless of your sleep position. It helps to keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long, so you get the best sleep of your life. Plus, it stays cool as well. I love that. But that's not all. You can get their 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets for just $25, the brand new mattress topper for as low as $69.98, and their famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25, and so much more. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com or give them a call at 800-858-0263. Use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, I don't spell it like the communists, to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow for just $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay. Order today. Use promo code Carl at checkout. All right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, I'm joined by my guest, Stephen Mosher. And guys, you're going to want to go out and follow him on X at Stephen W. Mosher. All right, and Mosher is spelled Mosher. When it comes to China, I mean, this guy, he has such a vast array of knowledge. I think it's important that we follow him. If we don't want to end up like China, America is the greatest country that God has ever given man. and we have a responsibility as Americans to protect our country from enemies, both foreign and domestic. And China has such an influence on American culture right now that I'm not even convinced that many Republicans realize how much so. And this news that broke earlier in the week with a senior aide for Governor Kathy Hochul being accused as a spy, I sit here and wonder how many more people are working within our government, spies within our government, and taking information back to China. Stephen, there was a headline. I didn't follow up on it, but there's apparently a defense contractor whose employees travel to China. And I forget the name of the contractor, and so I probably shouldn't be talking about this. But they took their laptops to China. Apparently, their laptops had all of this information on it about some of our military secrets, and these guys were basically hacked. Did you hear about that story? We'll move on because it's just.
No, I hear about stories like that all the time, and actually, anyone traveling to China should leave their electronic equipment behind and just buy a phone, off a store and use it temporarily in China. In fact, most American diplomats are told to do exactly that. You leave your smartphones at home. You leave your computers at home. If you bring a phone, you never leave it unattended in China because someone will come in and download the data. When you go into China through Chinese immigration, you have to hand over your phone, and they will download. They will put an app on it so they can track where you're going and what you're doing and who you're talking to and what you say. So yeah, electronic communications in China are not secure. Why would anyone be so foolish as to take a laptop with top secret information, especially defense information, to China? You know it's going to be hacked, and you wonder if that wasn't deliberate. Later claiming that, it was an accident. I didn't know they were going to do it. But you're basically handing over data, weakening our national security and making an attack by China on the United States more likely.
Okay, so I want to read something that you posted on X here, Stephen, for the audience, and then I just want to spend a couple more minutes on this Chinese spy, Linda Sun, that was hired by Governor Kathy Hochul, also worked for former Governor Andrew Cuomo, and then get into Jake Sullivan's visit to China, because our foreign policy with these people in charge is an absolute joke, in my opinion. But here's what you posted on X. Every Chinese American, especially those in an important government position, will sooner or later be approached by CCP agents. They offer bribes and other benefits to the target. They force close relatives to pressure them. Not all succumb, you write, but many of my once stalwart pro-democracy Chinese friends have gone over to the dark side. The national security risk is real and growing by the day. Your quick response to that?
Yeah, it's very sad for me because I got involved in Chinese politics back in the 1980s. I was there in Tiananmen, June 4th, 1989. I helped people escape from China. I had one Democratic activist living in my home. We were moving in the early 90s to set up pro-democracy organizations overseas to help bring democracy back to China. And one by one, over the 90s and into this century, Carl, people who worked with me in the pro-democracy movement were picked off, either because they had a sick father or mother back in China. They wanted to go see him. And the Chinese Communist Party said, yeah, we'll give you a visa and then you work for us. They ran out of money in the United States. Communist Party said to them, there's a quick and easy way to make money. Just work for us. So these organizations that I worked with, these people I worked with, many of them have gone over to the dark side. It's very bad, hard for me to see. It's very difficult to deal with this, because you have people who are absolutely committed to the pro-democracy cause being subverted, being seduced, and going over to support now the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we have government officials that are so desperate for power, they're singing the Russia, Russia, Russia tune again, where Vladimir Putin is not the threat to the Western Hemisphere, obviously, that China is. But let me just read part of this Daily Signal column to you about Linda Sun and her husband, and her husband, Chris Hu. It says here the indictment alleges that Sun, who served as deputy chief of staff for Hochul before being fired in 2023, used her influence to promote the interests of China. Her alleged activities included changing official statements on Beijing's behalf, blocking Taiwanese government